Ciao Juventini of the world, my name is Giuseppe, welcome back on the channel. Juventus Torino tomorrow, 8:45 p.m. Allianz Stadium. I can't wait. There are a million reasons why we must win the game of tomorrow. I will give you a few. First of all, it's a derby. Derby della Mole. A derby, you don't play it, you win it. As simple as that. Then don't forget that tomorrow, Inter and or Napoli, they might drop points tomorrow because they are playing against each other. If Inter is losing and we win, of course, our game, we could equalize them, going break-even at 24. If Napoli on their other side, they lose, we go at -1 if we win our game. If they draw, well, it's beautiful because we win points on the two that are actually favored for a Scudetto. So pay attention for that. Then don't forget, 5 wins at the moment for Juve, 6 draws. Would be beautiful that at a certain moment that column of wins goes higher than the one of draws, keeping a 0 in the last column. The mood of the next 2 weeks will be decisive of the result of tomorrow, of the game against Torino. Super important, because if you lose, disaster. For 2 weeks, we will be here during that international break speaking about the negativity, about everything that is going bad, about this, about that. No, let's win tomorrow so that we have 2 beautiful weeks. Also because I'm planning also during international break to have some guests here on the channel, so pay attention. Don't forget to put the notification ring on because there are quite nice guests that should come here on the channel. And then also our record is not good before the international breaks. We did 0-0 against Roma before the first international break. We did 1-1 against Cagliari before the other international break. Well, it would be nice to close that one with a win. And then when we come back, it's immediately a big game, Juve-Milan. So pay attention also. Milan is in top form because they just beat Real Madrid. So pay attention to that. Anyway, if you didn't yet, please put a maximum of like. Continue to subscribe to the channel. In today's video, we will speak also about the shareholders meeting of yesterday. What were the important messages? I know that a lot of you asked me about the sponsor, about the new stadium. Well, we'll give you these answers that were given yesterday to the shareholders in a public meeting. Attenzione, yesterday I went to Union Saint-Gilloise against Roma. 1-1. It was not the most beautiful game I ever saw, I tell you. And on top of that, it was extremely cold. I was freezing there together with my son. But I watched a few things, like, for example, 2 players that impressed me in that first half, even if they disappeared in the second one. But it was the number 27 from Union Saint-Gilloise, Noah Sadiki, young player, 19 years old, really, really fast, really, really good with the ball. And then Fuseini in that first half, that number 77, that were really good. So pay attention to these players. Not sure if they will one day reach extremely high level, but these are 2 beautiful potential from Union Saint-Gilloise. From Roma, I really appreciated Manu Kone, even if he lost a lot of balls, but you can see really the technique, the dribble, the presence, that physicality that was really good. Roma, that is a total disaster. Honestly, it's a real disaster. If I can tell you a secret about Roma, why it's not working, well, I don't know the origin of the problem. I can just tell you that I felt it immediately in the pre-warm-up before the game, how the players entered. They just lost against Verona, a disaster game. They are really bad in Serie A. They come with all smiles, all okay, all good, chill, tranquillo. Looks really like one of the songs when Union Saint-Gilloise is scoring is Vamos a la playa. Vamos a la playa. Oh, which means let's go to the beach. Well, I think that the Roma really thought let's go to the beach yesterday. And then at a certain moment during, the warm-up during the game for the players that might possibly enter when they are accelerating a bit because it's their time. Well, I saw them like for minutes, but really long minutes. Dybala, Paredes, Zalewski, Sole, all of them watching the game like that. Immobile, like frozen, but watching the game like that, not warming up at all. I didn't see any will of going for it. It's a pity that Juventus did 0-0 against that Roma. Even if it was a different Roma, it was still the Roma of De Rossi. A real pity that we gave up and threw away 3 points, 2 points because we drew against Roma. Anyway, it is what it is. Let's go to the big topic of today, the Assemblea degli Azionisti, which is the shareholders meeting. Yesterday it was also open to the small shareholders that have the opportunity to ask their questions. Well, I was really happy to hear President Ferrero speaking about one Juventus, of course, but it's not just one Juventus, the one that we understand, the first team men. when we are speaking about these meetings, when we are speaking about Juventus as a whole. That's something that I always try to underline here on the channel. When we are saying Juventus is doing well, Juventus is doing bad, of course, you can speak about first team Juve, which is understandably the most interesting for a lot of us. But Juventus as a club, when we want to judge if they are doing well or not, but seriously, as a club, as a company, it's good to take all into consideration. Juventus, what he said yesterday, has 22 teams, not only one, had 650 athletes and even more employees in the club. So we are speaking about something huge, something really big, where we see beautiful progression, beautiful improvement on a lot of areas, and then some areas where we need to do better. So what were the biggest things? First of all, let's not turn around the pot. We knew it already. We anticipated it. The books are not smiling. They are in red. Net loss of 199 million euro, which is huge, which is 200 million euro loss, which is really, really huge. Did we know about it? Absolutely. What are the consequences of this 199 million loss? Well, it's the fact that we didn't participate to the Champions League. Not because we didn't qualify on the field, but because of the off-the-field topics. So when you lose it, it's big. A lot of people, they said, but it's 1 year, it's okay. It's good, so that we can refresh everything and go on. We don't care. 1 year, we can even accept it. It's better even than playing that Conference League, for example, where yesterday Chelsea, they played, they won 8-0, and probably they will have a trophy at the end of the year. Anyway, I never agree with that. I didn't want to play in Conference League, of course, not because we deserve to play in Champions League, but now you see the impact. The impact on these 200 or 199 million euro loss, 130 million loss are coming from the Champions League non-qualification or European competition non-qualification, which is huge. On top of that, you have 10 million euro given to Ronaldo, but we are still in an affair there to try to take them back. On top of that, we had to sack Max Allegri. Guys, when we were speaking about sacking Max Allegri, we did it 1 year before the end of his contract. Sorry, if we anticipated with 2 years, with 3 years, could have been really, really a big, huge disaster, even more than what we see here. Now, this is about the books. I know that at a certain moment, the supporters, they don't care. They say, oh, okay, fine, 200 million. Who cares? Who cares? Yeah. Look, we have a plan. In 3 years, we should be break-even. Can we do it? If we are looking at all the details, we see that Juventus is improving in a lot of things, in saving on salary mass, in actually the depreciation from the football players, from the in a lot of areas, Juventus is improving. They want to continue to have that line for the future. So what is the idea for the future for Juve to come back break even is to continue with that sustainability, to continue to involve next-gen players, to continue to involve a lot of these things that we were doing recently, but unfortunately we don't see the impact now because of the Champions League non-qualification, but that we will see progresses in the coming years. Of course, still having a competitive team, which means qualifying to Champions League is crucial, is vital, much more than what people are thinking when they're saying, but we need to win the Scudetto. Yes, on a sporting side, but on a company side, that qualification to Champions League is huge, is really huge. Two things that are important, the sponsor and the new stadium. The sponsor should have arrived already, normally. We know it has already been leaked and spoiled that we had an agreement with someone. At the end, it didn't happen for a lot of reasons, also political reasons. So it is what it is. But yesterday they said we will have, or we are planning to have one before the end of this season. I agree with Juve on not taking a sponsor for the sake of just taking a sponsor. That is not in line with what you want to transmit in terms of values. That is not in line in terms of the amount of money that are paying for 5-6 years. I prefer to wait and having one that is really representing the club also in terms of what they are investing in the club for the coming years, but also the image that you are giving. I think that these are important things that Juventus is now speaking with a lot of stakeholders, with a lot of international appeal brands that are interesting to sponsor Juve, so we'll have to wait a bit more. Of course, when you have a sponsor in October, you don't have that many losses because you miss just a few months. If you have a sponsor in the month of April, May, of course, that's a huge one because you miss nearly an entire season ton of entries, which can be annoying, especially because we are Juventus, and Juventus should always be the club that has a lot of attraction. But I can also understand that the latest seasons, Juventus was not really beautifully seen from an international perspective. So we are working on it. Sponsor, we are working. We have some contacts, should arrive before the end of the season. I'm really curious to see and understand who it will be. But also, these 199 million euros, etc., are postponing some of our plans that we had since Agnelli era. Agnelli era, one of the next big things that he wanted to do after that beautiful village that we have in La Continassa with the head office, with the J Hotel, with the Area 12, with our field, with our stadium, with all these kind of things that you can see there, is to have a second smaller stadium of 5,000 spots that could be used for Juventus Next Gen and Juventus Women. The dream, the idea, and I can tell you from sources that I had, was really to create that Juve Day, where you travel from wherever in the world, also from Italy or whatever, and you buy, that single ticket that is offering you the Juventus Women or Next Gen, depending who is playing at home that day, in the afternoon, then going to the J Museum, doing the tour of the stadium, at the end finishing with the first team that is playing in the evening. That would have been, the ideal dream of an entire Juve day, and on a Saturday, on a Sunday. That's just fantastic. Pop, pop, pop. It would be important also for the Next Gen and for the Juventus Women, because at the moment we are playing in Biella, that is right outside of Torino. And it's true, we have our home games like everyone, but is it really our home? Not really, because it's right outside of Torino. If we could play in La Continassa, I'm sure that we would have a real tifo at home. The ones that are there are doing a fantastic job. Kudos to them, congratulations to them. But of course, I think that the impact could be even better. But we will have to postpone it. We'll have to postpone it, unfortunately. They said it, we are studying, so it's not a no, we give up. But at the moment, we are not ready to start. It will not happen really soon. So it's a discussion that when can we see the start of that project? Probably in 2-3 years, maybe in 3 years, when it will be break even, yes or no, with the books. It's a pity, but it is what it is. Ragazzi, sponsor has been discussed. Stadium has been discussed. We postponed. One request from the shareholders, tifosi, that were there, the small shareholders, was we need to defend ourselves better on the field and off the field. This is something that is not new. It's really a big request from supporters, and I kind of agree with them. I was happy to hear that question from them too. We need to defend ourselves better on and off the field. Better. Look, I understand the decision that has been taken on a lot of things, but of course the supporters, not always they go towards what is the real message of Juve. Why didn't Juve communicate it publicly? I think that in an era where it's important to read things, especially when Juve is attacked, well, saying things publicly, why, etc., not always waiting for 1 year before having the answer, could also be a beautiful benefit for Juve, for the image of Juve, but also for the supporters that are loving the Bianconeri. Anyway, today there was a big 2-page interview to Koopmeiners on Tuttosport. Juventino per Zidane. I became a Juventus fan for Zidane. Guys, I don't want to go towards the entire 2 pages. Why? Because I already made a video when I had the opportunity to do the meet and greet with him, with the fans of the world, that asked more or less the same questions that the journalists are asking. So that video is already online. I read it this morning. A lot of the questions and answers were the same. Now it's good to underline again that he's a Juventino since a kid. I'm not saying here that Juventus was his only and best team ever, but he always had that love for Juve since a kid as well. He spoke about the role on the field. At Atalanta, they played a bit more forward, while at Juve, he played actually a bit more down, where he's a bit more a midfielder than a real number 10. That's important to know, to read, to tell you, because we see him always as a 10, while maybe the role, or what Thiago Motta is asking him, is slightly different of what we expect from Koopmeiners. He says we are actually working on the fact to read better the moments of the game. and actually that our automatism start to be really natural and really fluid. Reading the moments of the game, that's something that I heard already a few times before, and not from Thiago Motta or Koopmeiners. Anyway, he said that he started as a left center back in his career, and then he did all the other roles, but things that I already told you. And then he also said, but I would be available for whatever role at Juventus, even if it's goalkeeper. That's what I said to my girlfriend. He spoke about his new teammates, that Vlahovic is a total striker, that he has all the qualities in the world to be that striker. Yildiz has a fantastic, beautiful foot, and Danilo is a real leader. And then on top of that, he said, yes, it was difficult in the summer. It was really difficult, from Atalanta to Juve, waiting there, not being sure of so. But when I was in the taxi direction Torino, I said to my girlfriend, Rosa, I said, finalmente. That word, that beautiful word that we heard already. Finalmente, finalmente. Another one that spoke to the journals, to the papers, was Conceição, that continued to say, what about a red card? He said, look, I have been touched in that game. The referee could have given a penalty, could have not given a penalty, but never give me a second yellow card for simulation, because I didn't simulate. And on that one, I'm happy to hear also his words that were exactly the same as we all had. Yesterday, Bonucci was at La Continassa. We know it. He's an assistant. Now he's in the staff of the under-20 of Italy. With Corradi, if I'm not wrong, yesterday he was in La Continassa to see the training session. One of his big objectives one day is to become the coach of Juve. Let's see. A few words about Juve Torino before coming back later with the words of Thiago Motta. Kalulu, Gatti are the center backs. They did well against Udinese. They didn't do bad at all against Lille. Of course, that goal is annoying, but they need to improve. They need to progress. They need to make sure that we are forgetting Gleison Bremer, which will be a really, really, really tough task for them. But I'm counting on them to do well against Torino tomorrow. The players that will not travel with the international team, and I'm super happy about that, is Nico Gonzalez. I already said it yesterday. Said no, he will be there. On top of that, Kefren Thuram and Kalulu will not travel with France, with Didier Deschamps that didn't call them up. He called up Rabiot. As soon as he was available, he called him up. But he didn't call up our players, which I'm happy about. Honestly, I'm super happy. It's selfish, I know, but it's better to have them there. And probably also Douglas Luiz will stay there with us to continue to train with Thiago Motta. Douglas Luiz that I'm waiting for. Milan, his ex-team, Aston Villa, and then the other games, so that December, January is the month where really I want to see much more from Douglas Luiz. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, put a maximum of like, continue to subscribe to the channel. Grazie, forza, Juve.